we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to call to order the school board meeting of July 27th. Oh, thank you. We have the introduction to our board meeting is going to be done by our finance director tonight, Kara Acker.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so please note that this meeting is open to the public and is recorded. There will also be a portion of the meeting reserved for community comments. Agenda items will be addressed as listed in the agenda. For in-person community comments, please use the sign-up sheet located in the hallway to share your comments. When it is your turn to speak, your name will be called. Before making your comments, please state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. If you are viewing the meeting via YouTube, have submitted comments before the meeting, they will be read during the community comment time. In the future, if you have comments that you would like to share with the board of directors, please email Jenny Wilson, the executive assistant to the superintendent, at jwilson@portangeloschools.org by 5 p.m. the night of the board meeting. If you have any concerns about individual district employees or specific complaints that require an administrative response, please contact the office of the superintendent directly. Now back to you, Madam President.
Thank you very much. So we go to roll call. Everyone, with the exception of Director Marks, are present and accounted for. And we begin every meeting with the flag salute, so please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I'm going to ask Director Wright to read the acknowledgement of
Tribal lands?
Thank you.
Got you. We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous lands of Coast Salish peoples who have reserved territory rights to this land, specifically the Clallam tribes. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial.
Thank you for that, and I hope you all have had a chance to see some of the canoe footage of
Yes.
things coming in, and we're really seeing that tribal lands being the way that those are happening. It's very interesting to watch. We went to Costco and there was a canoe there in the Costco parking lot. They'd stopped on their way. I thought that was cute.
It was not,
It was
in
very-
the parking lot?
Yeah, it was being trailered from one to another. It was very cool.
Where are they coming in to?
They came in, I believe they
To the
came in at
range.
the Elwha, and then they were, I think, trailering to Jamestown.
Okay.
So some people paddled and some, anyway. So that is neither here nor there. Okay, so agenda approval, how does it look?
Looks
good.
good.
Looks good. All right, that's going to take us to the consent agenda approval. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
It's a dandy.
It is a, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, excellent. So we are going to now take a little break from our regularly scheduled meeting, and I'm going to bring us out of our meeting for 5 minutes. No, 10 minutes, I apologize, I have to read better. And we are going to have a budget extension hearing by Kara Acker, and there will be available time for public comment on that, and then we will re-adjourn. Thanks, Kara.
I'm going to raise the debt ceiling.
Yeah, that's
Sound good? All right. So I mentioned this a couple times when we talked about just looking at budgets and our fund balance and everything each month when I present the financial statements. ASB, I knew was going to be a little over budget. You know, at the beginning of every year, we set that budget based on past expenses, anything that we're expecting to need to be able to pay throughout the year. We have to stay within that budget, that capacity that we've already agreed to. We have to stay within that capacity. So this year with ASB, we've just had so much activity. You know, our kids went to state. It was well over $15,000-$16,000 just, you know, for hotels and meal money, and ASB pays for all of that when our kids get to a state. So we have a reserve account that does that for them. in those, that got to compete in the skills competition. That in itself was over $43,000. So yeah, they fundraise the money, the parents all pay for it. So we had money to cover those expenses. It's just, it eats into our capacity, and now we've gone up over capacity. So just to kind of give you an idea, in July of 2019, before COVID, for everything, we were at about $351,000 we spent each year. COVID dropped way down to $186,000. Last year we were up to about $262,000 in July of 2022. So $322,000, a budget of $322 sounded reasonable to me. I thought that would be plenty, but we just had lots of extra activities this year. So I would like to increase the budget from $322 up to $522. That's a lot of extra capacity. I don't think we're going to spend that, but of course our revenues do support that kind of increase too. So it's not that we will be spending money that they don't have. It's just making sure they have enough capacity as we go into the new school year and pay for bills that we've had this summer.
Clue me in, primarily where do the ASB funds come from?
So we do fundraisers. I mean, a lot of the different sports clubs, organizations that are within ASB, they do lots of different fundraisers. They can add to their fund balance and have a fund of their own to decide what they want to do. They don't have to use those funds every year, but they hold the fund balance. For ASB, we collect money from ASB cards, and that's the biggest one. So it's the each student pays $40 for an ASB card that they pay that every year. So those funds go directly into ASB, and then those are distributed evenly across.
Is it subsidized by district funds at all?
No, not in ASB. No, those funds they raise those funds,
Right.
and then decide what they want to spend on them.
Okay, my question is then, why do you have to ask for how much money you can, fundraise for? I actually don't know. I'm in earnest asking why you would even need to ask if you can go raise more money for fun stuff.
Right, and that's the tricky part, so that we have to kind of guess how much they're gonna want to raise and how much it's going to, and we have a plan, and that they sit down and talk about their budget and what each one of their clubs is expecting to fundraise the next year, what types of activities they're gonna have, and put a little extra capacity in there just in case. But because ASB is a government entity and that the money is held by a state entity, we follow all the same rules with ASB that we would for general fund for TPF and capital. So we have to have a plan, but it's the kids making the plan.
Right.
And having that all listed out. For athletics is a little bit different. We manage the athletic piece. We divvy out those funds on a regular basis just from that equity aspect. They get money for different supplies because they raise gate receipts. So football raises money anytime we collect money at the gate. Those funds go back into overall athletics, and then they're divvied out for each team. So essentially, that's how it works. Answer your question?
It does, yeah.
Don't we do subsidize some of it out of general fund, don't we? Because we pay for the children's ASB card that can't afford it?
So
Or does that come out of ASB funds?
So those aren't necessarily offset. I mean, we don't take money from the general fund and put it into ASB to cover a student that can't pay for that. General fund does pay for different pieces of athletics, so the transportation piece, the facilities, maintenance, that kind of thing, that is all general fund. ASB, they pay for their uniforms and their some of their extra trips that they want to take, some of those other activities. But mainly, mainly those fundraisers and the club activities are covered by ASB and not general fund.
Okay, thank you.
I would just say the Ed Foundation has been very instrumental in providing ASB cards to kids who couldn't afford it, so that's outside of us. So, yeah, ASB is just one of our funds that we keep an eye on, so that's why we have to do this.
Yes. Do you need a motion?
No, we don't want to do that in the next section, in our
Okay.
action items.
Action items?
Yeah.
So there is a resolution that you will vote on at the end of our regular meeting, and that will be available. And so now, if you have any questions from us.
Any public comment? Okay,
Okay.
I see no public comment. I'm going to bring us back into our general meeting.
Thank you.
All right? Thank you, Kira. All right, we are back into our general meeting. We just held our public hearing on ASB fund extension, budget extension. So that takes us to 6.01, which is our distribution of correspondence. We have no correspondence. It's that time of year. So I'm going to ask Assistant Superintendent Michelle Olson to come up and give us her teaching and learning report.
Okay, well, it's just a small report tonight, but we find that it's easier to digest all of our data in small chunks. So what I'm bringing you tonight is our DIBELS benchmark reading assessment scores. And so just as background for the why, go to the next slide. We're, as part of our strategic plan, understand that when students are given effective instruction and services and supports, that we know they will learn, and when they learn, they will make growth and ultimately graduate. And so we want all students to be learning at higher levels, and so this is one tool that we use to monitor that all students are learning. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Just a reminder, so DIBELS is an assessment that we give as a benchmark assessment 3 times a year, and we're doing this for grades kindergarten through 6, and we use it at all of the elementary schools. And we're looking at critical areas for reading development, so phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension. And so we give the screener in the fall, usually within like the first 4 weeks of school. Then we give it towards about the end of January, and then in the spring we give it like the end of May, beginning of June. So if we go to the next slide, this is pretty exciting. So this is kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. So if we start with our youngest learners at the bottom of the page, you can see back in September with kindergarten that, not unexpectedly, right, 60% of the kids needing intense support, they're just getting into kindergarten. But as you look at June, we shrunk that number down to 23%. And you can see here ending up with 61% of our students at or above the grade level expectations, and again 16% kind of getting close. So again, really strong results as we go up to 1st grade. You can see there shrinking the number of students that were in the intensive, growing the number of students that actually are exceeding grade level there. And for 2nd grade as well, you can see again growing at the top and shrinking a little bit more at the bottom. What you'll see as we continue is that our strongest growth was actually here at the primary grades. And we know that the why is, number one, we have an amazing reading program, and we just adopted those curriculum materials. And with that program, there's a very strong and intentional focus and sequence on phonics instruction. So we have the wit and wisdom piece, another component of that is foundations, and then we also have geodes, and many of our students at these grade levels would have their tier 1 instruction, and then during their RTI time have additional instruction of these materials. So they were getting a lot of instruction, and it showed. So if we go to the next slide, we don't see as much growth as we get into the upper grades. And so here you can see with 3rd grade, you know, it kind of kept about the same from what you saw in September to June. 4th grade, definitely 4th grade, our 4th grade data shows that they are struggling the most in the area of reading. We're also seeing as we look at our MAP scores and SBA scores a little bit for early indicators, show that this is a grade level that's struggling a little bit more relative to other grades. If you go into the last slide of the data, you can see with 5th and 6th grade, again for 5th grade, definitely grew the number of students exceeding standard, but also grew the students who were needing some intensive support. And for 6th grade, again, grew the number of students exceeding standard, but added a little bit to students needing intensive support. So what we know, bless you, just like we've seen with our math curriculum adoption, that given our wit and wisdom adoption every year, that we have that in place with our students, we're going to continue to see our reading scores improve. So what we know is, of course, as those kindergarten, 1st, 2nd move up, they now have a really firm foundation in knowing how to read. So we then can spend more time on thinking about what they're reading. So we'll be excited to see those changes moving forward. If you go to the next slide, this is just overall to see the growth. If you look at from September to June, so yeah, kindergarten up like 42%, and you can see the numbers there. What we know that I'll be bringing you at the next meeting is looking at our MAP scores. You'll start to see the correlation there, and then certainly SBAC as that comes back to us. And this isn't something that's unusual or special for Port Angeles. It is what the data is showing across the nation. I just was reading a report from NWEA that handles all of the thousands of school districts that do the MAP testing, and where they're seeing the gain is in the primary grades, just like our data was, but it's that next group between the 3rd grade and 7th grade that they're not seeing, that they didn't see as much progress this year. So people are all kind of experiencing it, and so for us at Port Angeles, having our curriculum going into next year is just going to be a big support. And then as we continue our work with PLCs, and they're looking again at the data in their teams to design interventions. And then, as you know, we received the MTSS grant from the state of Washington for the next 3 years, just shy of $1 million, and that we will be hiring MTSS coordinators, and they will help create those structures so that we have those tiered interventions. So students who are struggling in reading and math, system-wide, we will have tier 2 interventions and tier 3. And so our coordinators will help support that work at each buildings with the building team and the building principal, and create a cohesive system for our district. So that's kind of where we're headed. So yeah, any questions or comments?
Aren't those 3rd and 4th graders the ones that missed their foundation years?
Yeah,
As
so
far-
if you
I mean, that was the
backtrack,
if you go back and,
Yeah,
that
the
was a
4th and
pandemic.
the 4th and 5th.
They would have been kindergartners and 1st graders.
Yeah, and even 2nd graders.
Yeah.
You know, those years, and even though they came and went and we let them come back and all that, that's still, we've learned a lot about trying to teach them computers, but Anyway, that's the group. Those are the ones who missed those every day, go to school with your peers and your teacher and the foundation skills. And it's hard to recover from that. It always has been, and I think it always will be.
Yeah, and again, I think now we're just in that spot of like, this is what we have. And so
But do
now
what we can
we
do.
have to come up with plans and make sure that we're providing them with what they need, and then we're using our assessment to see if what we're doing is working.
It's good.
Yeah, I think these numbers are actually, other than obviously our four fives, I think these are really encouraging numbers.
Yeah.
Because they show that what we're doing is working, and we're gonna have this blip. It's gonna be a generational blip of kids who just, unfortunately, it shows to me that online education does not work for everyone. We're always gonna need teachers, and we're always gonna need buildings to put those little cherubs in. So, but I'm actually pretty heartened by the numbers.
Yeah, and the piece that we are doing as well is like our Title I teachers started to come together in the spring to look at their individual data and to see if we had pockets, maybe at a school where they did, substantially better maybe than another program, and starting to find out what is it that they did. Was it their programming? Was it their materials? Those kinds of pieces to ensure that if that's working for one school or two schools, that we're doing that across the system.
All right, thank you. So that will take us to, our, Kara, you are back up with our June financial report.
Okay, hello, I'm back. So, June 2023 was an interesting month. So you can see as we talked about with our fund balance, June being the lowest that it was going to be, we're right at that, just right under 800,000 for June. And it was tough. We had to really look at every single bill, watch our cash flow, make sure that we were enough money in the bank to make payroll, which we did, and everyone got paid. Actually, they'll get paid again on Monday. So things are coming back around. I want to remind you as well that in July, so just in a few days, we're going to get 12.5% of our apportionment, our year's apportionment. So it's going to creep up. You're going to see that fund balance going back up next month. And then again in August, we'll receive 10% of the apportionment. So we have a number of grants that we are turning in for reimbursement. So that fund balance will be recovered and will come back up. I've been hoping for that 4.2, 4.3 anywhere. I'm thinking it's going to be below 4. But we're just getting to the end of the year, figuring out what bills come in by the end of the year, and then we'll as we get closer, I'll keep you updated next month as well. So on there on capital, we can see our we've collected just shy of 12 million this year, and have spent about $1 million for an ending fund balance of 28 million. So a lot of our field work at Monroe has been done. We've been paying those. I don't think we've paid the final bill yet, so that might not be encompassed in that 1 million. But that also includes a lot of our site workshop, the landscape design, our Integris, quite a few of the from our middle school project. That's in that 1 million as well. So just a few bills in the beginning of a big project, but excited. Here's just a breakdown of all of our different expenses. You can see that we actually didn't pay our nutrition services bill. I called Sodexo and I said, can we do a pass on this one? Can we pay the next month? And they were totally great with it. They understood. We wanted to make sure that we got our local people paid, and Sodexo was very willing so you can see we did spend about 278,000. And again, those are mostly local, our local vendors, and some of our independent contractors and some of our other bills that we pay right away. I'm catching up this month. And our, we're at 4.5 for payroll, which there wasn't too much. There was some end of the year timesheets and other contractual obligations that we did pay. A normal pay run without anything extra is about 4.3. So 4.5 is, that does encompass some of those timesheets and extra time that teachers or paras or secretaries were taking care of at the end of June, May and June actually. Again, you can see our fund balance here. I didn't close the gap, it should be closed here to June, and that's that 700, just under 800,000. And again, we'll keep creeping up and be just right around below 4 million to end the school year. Or end the fiscal year. Any questions for me? I know. Okay, thank you very much.
I'm sorry you had to go through this, which I think all of us at some point in our lives have had to be like, if I just pay this one in 2 weeks, that will cover. A school district should not be in that
No.
position.
Definitely not.
And
I'll just wait till they call me, then I'll pay that bill.
yeah, we shouldn't be pink slipping, or we have till 2. I can say there's certainly. Anyway, thank you for that, and hopefully we're gonna dig our way.
Yes.
Making the tough choices, Marty, you too, for helping us making those tough choices. I hope that the community understands that's why we're making these tough choices, because we shouldn't be in a position where we have to play chess with our parents.
And we know that you're dancing lightly on the tightrope.
Yes.
We know that.
we-
And
yeah,
well,
okay.
thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Me oh my, what can we do?
Thanks,
All
Gary.
right. So then that takes us to our action items. We're already to 9.01, which is approval of the ASB budget extension resolution.
I move the resolution.
I'll second.
A motion a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Then we have an approval of the second reading of policy 2153, non-curriculum related student groups. I know we've had some discussion around these, and I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the second reading of policy 2153.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion around this?
Did we have any changes to this, Marty? I can't remember. I remember talking about it. You asked for the policy. We need to relook at that.
We did not take it back through the policy
Okay,
committee.
thank
We
you.
did not.
All right.
So if there were changes, and I don't remember right off the top of my head, but if there are any changes, they would have been grammatical type changes, not content.
I remember we talked it through and came to the conclusion that it was a good idea by the time we were done.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Good. That takes us to approval of the second reading of policy 5252, staff participation in political activities. I'll entertain a motion.
I move policy 5252.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Is there any discussion around this? No, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? All right. So, everything passed with flying colors tonight. Now we have community comments on non-agenda items. Were there any comments? I don't think so. All right. Oh. Marty's gonna go get the paper, but since I see nobody here, I don't think,
I saw no one on the list either.
okay, no one on the list. All right. So then that's gonna take us, just make sure Marty zips his head in. Everything above board. No one on there. All right, so that's gonna take us to Board of Directors comments. We'll start down there with Dr. Director Wright.
It's good to see you all again. I have just been buried in work for the last 30 days since I've seen you. No school board work, no activities or anything like that, so I will be brief. It has just been a flurry of real estate.
There you go.
It's good for businesses.
Well, I would just like to say we had a great celebration at the end of the year, graduation and everything. I don't know if we've been gathered here since, but I just, the awards, the ceremonies, everything was really positive. And I appreciate our pamphlet that was out, our insert that was out, and thank you to everyone who participated in writing that. That's a real positive one, so nice to read.
Good.
I went yesterday to look at the field. And I missed.
Yeah.
I went yesterday to look at our field, and I got out and walked all around, and it's there. I mean, there it is. It's big.
Yeah.
They were building berms. When I went by, they were pushing dirt around at the end of the field. It's exciting.
Excellent. All right, and I have nothing to add. It's been summer vacation here too, so.
Yeah, for me too.
All right. Superintendent Brewer.
Yeah, to just follow up on the field, I did have a conversation with Nolan today, and we're on schedule, we're on budget. Things are progressing nicely. And, with any kind of construction project, there's a few things that have to be worked through, but all of the players are playing nicely in the sandbox, and we're getting the job done. So I anticipate the green portion of the field to be down by September 1. Right now you see the prep, you see the border and the fencing starting to go in, but the green should be going down within the next few days. By the end of August, that should be completed, and then Brook and Brook will be finishing up the final work around the field with regards to the seeding, the hydro seed, and also the walking track. So it's progressing nicely. We anticipate having a field to be able to play on, or at least walk on initially September 1 to have the full completion done by mid-September. So pretty exciting times.
That's exciting.
And we'll want to make sure that we coordinate with the board ribbon cutting ceremony before that field is used. So I'll be working with board president Sarah Meffner to coordinate that with each of you and your schedules so that we can get out there and christen this new field for our community, and it's much deserved.
You know it's gonna be a soccer game. You know there's gonna be a soccer game. I'm so excited. All right, is that all?
That's all I have for this evening.
That's excellent. Yeah, I think we're all still coming back from vacay. Excellent. Not much going, so that just takes us to our next meeting and location and time. It's gonna be here, I reckon.
So we have our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, August 10th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in this room, room 208, Lincoln Center. Items to be considered on the next agenda: reviewing the Lower Alacalon Tribe Port Angeles School District MOU is up for renewal, and also Integris will likely be out to share the schematic design update for the Stevens Middle School project.
Excellent. So with that, no further business. We are adjourned. We are going to recess into executive session for 1 hour for the purpose of discussing the something. Personnel, having a conversation about personnel that, gosh, I should know it by heart. It's not important. And a position to be taken in collective bargaining.
Those are the two items.
Okay. So that, the meeting will last no longer than an hour and no action will be taken. We are adjourned.